You didn't make the child. Why should you be financially responsible?
How about this? Do any of you know a girl that has committed paternity fraud against a guy? Basically told him, hey, it's your kid when you know it's not?
I do. It happened to my uncle.
Shit.
The kid's not his. The kid's not his.
So basically...
Does the uncle know that it's not his?
Yeah, he knows, but he doesn't want to fight it in court because it's too much money.
What the?
So he...
That's the other thing, right? It's so much money and time and effort to fight these cases, and you still might lose. You still might have to still pay child support. So you just gave the court all this money for no reason.
So he stuck paying child support?
Tell him to go to Tennessee. I mean, the kid is almost 18 already, but still, you paid like 18 years for this kid.
How long did he know that it wasn't his kid?
The whole time.
The whole time?
My mom told him. My mom was like, he doesn't look like you. He looks like that guy.
Okay, but like, how old was the kid when your uncle found out?
Like 3.
Oh, damn. So you still said fucking 15 more years?
They're in different states, and then it was a one-night stand, so...
Fuck no.
This is why you guys need to wrap it up so this can't even be an issue. Or, I mean, yes, it can still be an issue. They can still claim that whatever happened, but at least it's less likely. I don't even know, man. Fuck.
Okay. Interesting.
That's crazy,
Just
bro.
like that?
That
Get
is
a
wild.
pro bono lawyer. Like, I'm sure there's people out there that would fight that case.
You didn't...
To her point, no. Many people don't want to fight these type of cases pro bono. It's worth a lot of time and effort. And you're not guaranteed to win.
New tonight, a bill proposed in the Tennessee state legislature could make it mandatory now for fathers out of wedlock to take a DNA test before signing a birth certificate.
Fox 13 government reporter Kayla Solomon joins us live. Kayla, this bill was discussed and passed in a House committee today. And, you know, it goes back. There have been advocates who said it could solve a lot of problems if it were just the first thing that happens for all babies.
It would be nice for it to just go across the board for everyone.
That's right, Merle. And this is also coming on the heels of another child support reform bill that was recently passed that says if fathers fall behind too much on child support, they can now lose custody of their children. Now, I spoke to one Memphis representative who says...
Isn't that sad? Men that can't pay for their children go to jail and then lose their children. Women that can't pay for their children get government assistance, get alimony, get child support. Ah, man. What a world we live in.
This is specifically for couples who are not married.
This is a big deal. This is an issue that needs to be fixed.
State Representative Antonio Parkinson says the conception of this bill came from a haircut trip.
You know, I was in the barbershop and this young man stopped me and he said that he was in a long-term relationship. They had a child. They were living together at the time.
Parkinson says the man went on to say that after the kid turned 5, he found out his partner had an affair, and a DNA test later revealed the man was not the child's father after all.
When they went to court over the child support, he presented the DNA evidence. The magistrate, and this is in Shelby County Juvenile Court, the magistrate basically banged the gavel down and said, somebody's got to feed him, and it's going to be you until he ages out of child support.
Parkinson says the man ended up having to pay up to 5 years in child support.
And that's how the government sees it. It's for the best well-being of the child. So they rather have someone pay for the child and help out the mother than the government doing it themselves, even though the mother's still going to get government assistance too on top of it.
As a result, and also ended up losing his license, job, and going to jail temporarily. House Bill 20...
The losing your license thing, like going to jail. How is this man supposed to pay or keep a job if he lost his license? Most states, you kind of need a car to drive around and go do things. Public transportation isn't a great thing in most places.
2698 will make it so that if a prospective father wants to voluntarily sign a birth certificate, he has to provide DNA test results first. Parkinson says this doesn't only impact Memphis.
The rural district attorneys were looking for somebody to carry legislation to start reforming our child support system, because it's rural guys that are getting hit with these same laws, and it is hurting them.
Now, I reached out to the Department of Human Services for a response to this, and they did not immediately give me a response. Once we have that, of course, we'll update this story for you. Now, this bill moves on to the Senate floor tomorrow morning. Live in Memphis, Kayla Solomon, Fox 13 News.
You are not the When it comes to 2-year-old Serenity, Alfonso,
Oh,
you
Maury.
are not.
What the hell's going on?
In the case of 4-month-old Royal, Harold, you are not.
Maury's gonna go out of business if these trials pass. Oh, he's already out of the. There's no more Maury show anymore.
Hold it, Brandon. In the case of 4-year-old Brandon, Gary, you are not.
Where's she going? Were they trained to do this? What the hell's going on?
In the case of 3-year-old Kalia Quay,
It's not the father. It's not the father.
you are not the father. You are not.
Isn't it crazy how many times it's not been the father? A lot more times on the Maury show than it actually has been the father.
So this commentator hit on something that's really problematic. It's called paternity fraud. I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but you'll hear about it now. Paternity fraud happens in two instances. The first one is what's called the presumption of paternity for a married couple. If two people are married, then any child born to either of those people during that marriage is considered the issue of the marriage.
This is why we need it across the board, and not just for non-married couples. Married couples should get it too, because it's an automatic assumption. That's ballsy for the state to automatically assume that's your child when you're married. Just maybe back in the day it was a normal thing and it wasn't as bad, or we just didn't have the statistics as we do now. It's just not the case.
Thus, that child, if the child is born to the wife, that the husband is considered the father. There's a rebuttable presumption of this, a legal rebuttable presumption of this. The second instance when paternity fraud happens is when a couple is not married or a woman is not married and she convinces somebody to sign the acknowledgement of paternity, however she does it. The fact is, this happens, it happens all too often, and then when it comes out later that this child is not, that the father is not actually the biological father, there are a lot of instances when the courts will simply not want to hear it and will not hear it. They'll use something called equitable estoppel, because if it is determined that the child recognizes the man, husband, ex-husband, just, ex-boyfriend, whatever, to be the child's father, the court will not, and this is the legal term, bastardize the child. There is a public policy, at least in New York, against bastardizing children.
I see.
And I mean, I see this from kind of the two angles. The first angle is obviously the father's angle. There's a fraud. It was committed. The wife was unfaithful. The girlfriend just lied to him. She was sleeping around and he was the least onerous possible man in her life that could be the father of the child. I've actually heard testimony. I've heard women actually go on the record and admit that they didn't know and they just assumed and they had no idea and they were sleeping.
Isn't that crazy? So many women have no fucking clue who the baby daddy is, and they just this one
around, but they wanted this person to be the father. That's terrible. It's fraud. It's straight up fraud. The second instance, the second part of the equation is the child's. This child knows somebody to be its father. And to have that knowledge taken away, for that person to be ripped out of that child's life is cruel and wrong, and the law recognizes that. That's where equitable estoppel comes from. So there are no winners when this happens. There are only losers. I mean, I question.
This is why we need to stop it right in the beginning and just have the DNA testing right in the beginning. So we don't even go through any of these processes, because it will be found out that this isn't the father. The baby was barely born. They haven't connected with the baby yet. It makes sense.
I have to question the father, the parent, who would just divorce themselves from a child because that child is not biologically his, even if they raised that child for years and years and years. It's a sad state of affairs. The more you know.
I can't blame them. They were lied to this whole time. Anybody that's been lied to for 3-4 years of their life, spent resources on something that they believed that was theirs, I can understand why they're upset. But I also understand there's also fathers out there that really attach to their kids and still want to be in that kid's life, but they don't know how it works because it just makes it so messy.
Miller versus Rasmussen. When it comes to 3-year-old Zaylee Rasmussen, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Rasmussen, you are not the father. Miss Miller. Miss Miller.
I'm sorry.
That's a lot of nerve, considering the alternative is somebody that don't want nothing to do with you or your child.
I'm sorry.
That's a lot of nerve.
Oh, shit!
You just showed me where your priorities were right there.
It's not the child's.
Because I held out hope. But that cheering you did, what you cheering? I'm a single mother with nobody that loves me or my child. What you cheering for?
I'm strong and independent. I don't need no man. This is what women are trained to do.
I'm not.
No, you were. He is over here breaking down because he loves this child so much. I sit here day after day after day with women hoping a man would drive 16 miles to see their baby, much less 160 miles each way, and abide by a court order and sign a birth certificate and come day after day and week after week so they can grow visitation to have a relationship with the child. And you have no compassion for not just him, but for Zaylee. She's 3 years old. Now, he's not just going to be heartbroken. We got to break this news to her. And y'all over here cheering like it's a sport. This is this baby's life. And I asked you, where's...
This is what the gentleman was talking about, the side of the kid. They've known this person as the father. This person's taking care of them. They've already built that attachment, and just ripping that away, I can see why that's a problem for a lot of people. This is why I say family and kids give a lot of men purpose. A lot of men actually don't know what to do with themselves without the idea of a family and kids. And so that's why I always push people towards that way.
Don't have kids with these men. Ladies, if you don't want to have children, go.
We've been telling you ladies this whole time. You guys are the one that are picking these men. Stop having kids with these men. We know they're bad men.
Get sterilized.
I'll say this. The issue about child support is one that needs to be had. But anybody else notice how some women go to the extreme to defend their right to take advantage of men?
You cannot get child support off a one-night stand. Do you know how many men are going to go out here and irresponsibly shoot their seat off in people because they don't think that they can be held responsible?
I think men do that now, and there's very few men that do that. But you also allow these men to do that.
Can't nobody shoot the club up if the club wasn't open. You control the cookie, not us. You do.
Want their child. A lot of the men, if they wanted to, they could have fought for their child. If they could prove that they could.
Okay, I'm gonna land my plane with this one. When I hear that argument, why didn't he fight for his kid? I mean, that to me, that just says that, hey, I have the right to take advantage of him. Just because this man wasn't a suitable partner for you, and you purposely want to rob your child of that same happiness that you couldn't get, you're being selfish. Mm-hmm. Period. No man should have to fight for his child.
No, women use their kids as so much leverage against that man to try to force their love, to force their attention, to force a lot of things on him. And it's just a detriment to the child.
Hi, Ellen Wright, Wright Family Law Group. So here's a doozy of a question. Can I put my boyfriend on my child's birth certificate, even though we both know he's not really the bio dad? So yeah, you can do it. No one is going to stop you, but you need to know that it is paternity fraud, and you're not being really fair to everyone.
It's like asking, can I rob a bank? Yeah, you can rob a bank. You just probably won't get away with it. And yes, it is a crime.
Involved, including your child. So this is Massachusetts. 1 year goes by and your boyfriend is on that birth certificate and he's not coming off. Even if you guys break up, he's going to have a really
Also, in Massachusetts, it's only 1 year. I know in California, it's 2 years.
hard time coming off if he doesn't want to continue to take responsibility for this child that's not his. Is that really fair to him? No. And let's talk about your child. Okay, there's now websites, 23andMe, Ancestry.com. What about in later life when your child discovers, if they go on, what if these web...
That's right. There's not even a reason that has to be medical. It could be just, hey, let's do a family fun thing and let's get this DNA test for everybody and see where we fall. Oh, I don't fall within this family tree.
Websites and takes a paternity test or genetic marker test that your boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, whatever the case may be, is not really his or her dad. Is that really fair to your child? Lying? No. Birth certificates can be amended, and children can be adopted. So I suggest you not lie and do things the right way. Peace out.
Please subscribe down below. I really appreciate that, and I'll catch you guys next time. Ciao.